a link. They have a link that's supposed to be active, I think, to take you directly to those tasks. But at least from my app, once I click on that, the app will tell you, or the link will be inactive, and it will tell you that you know, it just won't get you to where you want to go. It tells you you can't reach the browser or something. So it's unable. It's not live, but it's just down there below each of the tasks from the app. So I don't know whether, and I logged in, so I don't know whether it's not active for now, or maybe I'm doing something wrong.
I honestly, I'd have to run a test, right? It could be unique to you. My question is this: do you actually have tasks that need to be accomplished inside a command? Like, yes. Are there any tasks?
Yeah, if you go to the tasks.
When you go to tasks in command, they're there, but when you click on the app, it's not?
Yeah, there's a link below each of the app. When you click on it, it will not get you to the tasks.
What I would recommend is maybe logging out of your command on your cell phone and making sure that it's updated and give it a refresh and try it again.
Okay, thank you.
None of that works. Get with your Market Center tech trainer and have them help troubleshoot with you.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. But that's, look, tech happens, right? I'm not wearing a shirt today, but tech happens, right? It doesn't always work for us, but always surface your concerns and talk to people, because it may or may not be an individualistic issue. It may be something bigger than that. And sometimes we just need to know about it. So always share.
But I do have to say, being able to check emails on my phone and things like that.
Tell us more, Robbie. I'll stop and listen. That's okay. No, it's all good. Who's got some aha for me this week? I know we had Ruth yesterday. You had me on Monday, me on Tuesday, Ruth yesterday. You stuck with me again. I don't normally do this many sessions. I had somebody sick. I had to trade dates with somebody, which is what we do. We cover each other's back. I know there was a little timing issue. Life's a beach sometimes, and whatever it is, Ruth's internet at the beach is affected by the salt in the air, I think, and it eats through her connection every now and then. So I know there was some droppage yesterday, and we apologize. I don't know if she ultimately got through everything. I know she came back in. Some of you stuck around, some of you dropped. We're going to post a previous recording too, just so you guys can go back and watch that. We'll put that in the playlist on the YouTube channel, just from last month's session, just in case you guys missed anything. But so where are we at aha-wise this week? How's everything going? Oh, excuse me 1 second. Got to yell at my teenager. Teenagers, anybody own one of those? Pain in the ass. Okay, pain in the ass. Bus picked them up at 8:40. It's 9:06. Oh, I'm getting a ride today. What time school start? 9:15. It's 9:07. If I can't be real with you guys, I can't have fun when I'm doing. So I like to share my pain. Right. So, and I like, you ever notice commiserating pain, right? It's kind of like eating something awful and you have to share it. No, you got to taste this. Is absolutely horrific. It's going to kill you, but I need you to try this. Right. That's how I feel like I need to share my life with my kids. I'm like, please tell me I'm not alone. And somebody else's teenagers are absolutely driving them batshit crazy. Okay. Thank you. Right. We need to be real. We need to have connections. Right. Thank you. I appreciate that. So let me go back to my previous question. So who's got some ahas for me so we can actually get started training? Because I need 3.
I didn't know that you could run ads, like ad campaigns from commands. So that's really cool.
Right. Running ads is important. I want to interject with that, Craig. And this is incredibly important. And if you have one takeaway from this entire week, while the ads are great, the ad spend is great, advertising listing is great, advertising open houses is great, that should not be your primary lead generation source. Can we all agree with that? You cannot plan on building your business on 1 to 3% returns on Facebook advertising. You have got to start with your relationships. And that's why I spend so much time on Monday, Tuesday, talking about contacts and how you talk to people, and supplement that by building your sphere through Facebook. Does that make sense? All right, cool. Who else has aha?
For me, yesterday was just totally mind blowing. There was so many things that Command can do, some of which I knew, but just mind blowing. It's crazy how awesome Command is.
That designs component is probably one of the most overlooked things. Like, some people are trapped and not sure how to get there, what to do, how to exchange things, or they use Canva or other platforms, which are good, right? But once you get in there and realize, my God, there's 2,000 different designs. I don't need to be a marketer and go to, well, I created this all on my own. Good for you. Save yourself some time, right? Let the pictures and the photographs and all that information be there for you, right? Use the stock images, listing presentations, buyer presentations, and the magazine's awesome. Like, did she show you guys that yesterday, the magazine? The magazine, when we start rolling that out, we're probably on our 6th edition now. One of the coolest things out there, because if you're familiar with something called American Lifestyle Magazine, this is essentially the same thing, and it's 10 times better. Like American Lifestyle, you get a little picture in the front page, you get like a letter from the editor, which is you, and that's it. This is such a better opportunity for you guys to get this stuff out there. And when we get a direct mail option, it's just going to blow the top off everything. But right now, do some drop shipping. There's a company called Brandco. I'll put them in there, brandco.com. They print for like $1.50 per, and it'll drop ship them to your market center. You have a nice, so you can order whatever, right? 25, 50, 100, and then hand them out as Popeyes, right? For those Buffini people. Those become coffee table events, and you update them with every month, and they will stay on somebody's coffee table or in their business office, I assure you. All right, so that's two. I need one more.
I just got here. One more what, David? I'll help you.
One more aha. Harry, you saved everybody last time, so let's hear from somebody else.
Okay.
Because I will sit here. I'll sit here for 45 minutes.
Well, while I'm still struggling with it, I really like that you can set them up with neighborhoods. I think a lot of my contacts are parents, and the kids are attached to a certain school, and so that's fantastic.
Thank you, Caitlin. That might be my other favorite thing, and I get very passionate about that. When we talked about that on Tuesday, right? The neighborhoods, great for where they are, but if you get in a relationship and know where they've come from and where they want to go, that's deep, right? Set yourself up on that. Take yourself on that journey, right? The neighborhood you grew up in, and pin that. Where you live now, and pin that. And then where you think you may want to retire, and pin that. And get that for yourself. And now imagine that experience for your consumers. Nobody's doing that. I 100% guarantee you, nobody's putting that amount of thought into their relationships with their consumers, other than setting them up on a drip campaign for where they currently live. You put 100 people, 150 people on that type of relationship update, you'll have business forever. I guarantee it. All right, that's 3. I guess I can let you guys all out of the doghouse when we start training today now. So today is Opportunity Day. Opportunities, let me start with this. Who has a whiteboard in their office? Anybody? Okay, what's on your whiteboard, Melissa?
Deals that I'm doing.
Deals that you're doing, right? A straightforward answer, right? There's nothing tricky with that, right? And on that deal board, right, it's got addresses, dates, price, buyer, seller, expiration dates of contracts, or maybe EMD deposit dates or contingency expirations, and close of escrow information, right?
Correct.
And you're updating that pretty regularly, right?
Yes.
And when you do that, do you tend to get like smudge marks on your arms, on your nice white blouses when you're in your office, or is that just me?
That's probably just you.
It might just me. Well, I'm a guy and I'm sloppy, so that's okay. But I know the girls know how to write nice and neat. But there's a time thing to that, right? Does it take time to update the board? Like probably a good, when you get into serious production, right? And we'll say 2 to 3 deals a month, maybe 4 or 4 deals, activities going, it gets busy, right? To update that on a regular basis. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
All right. So imagine taking that experience, okay, from your whiteboard in your office, okay, and now having a digital whiteboard. Listings, opportunities, buyer, seller, active, closed, under contract, historical data, when things are due, checklists, information that goes out automatically to your consumers because you did things for them on any particular day, or assigning things to other people in your world that need to do things. Maybe you're admin, you're TC, or a buyer's agent when you build a team, or if you're on a team, right? Filtering those views and being able to look at them differently. So remember when we talked about smart views and filters on the contacts page? Birthdays, who haven't I talked to in 90 days, and setting up all those different searches. We call those save smart views, right? So now imagine having save smart views for all those different types of opportunities, like a digital whiteboard. It would be like having 10 whiteboards in your office. One for your listings, one for your buyers, one for leases, one for active, one for under contract, one for expired, one for lost, one for not right now, one for Joe or one for Dave if you're running a team, or for everybody on your team for those other things that I just talked about. Now manage the whiteboard nightmare that could become. Like, I've been in this business 15 years. Our market center, oh, I'm echoing, sorry. Let me try that again. Let me spin off my mic. I was leaning backwards too. Is that better? More clear? All right, thanks everybody. Sorry about that. Sometimes the internet over here sucks. A little cloudy today. But I was in a market center where the whiteboard was gigantic. Probably had the ability to track 100 plus properties on it. Everything was taped nice and neat and organized in the columns and rows, and they had to go and update it. And not just update it, right? You had to move things up the board. It took hours. So imagine now having everything at your disposal and replacing that whiteboard in your office and going to Best Buy or Costco and spending $200 on an open box TV. Yes, I said open box because there's a lot of those available, and hanging one of those on your wall. And at a click of a mouse, that updates every single day or every single minute with what's going on in your world. You have that kind of control inside a command now to track your business. Does that get you excited? Really? Nobody? Just me? I find that hard to believe. Thank you, Barbara. I mean, placate me a little bit, just a little bit. All right. But yes, that's the kind of ease that you can have in your world. Now, yeah, don't spend money that you don't have. So I'm kind of kidding, right? But on your desktop, you can sort through these things. It's very, very easy. So now the other thing with opportunities is, especially around a whiteboard, because whiteboards are valuable space, you typically don't add things until they're under contract, right? Either a listing or a buyer, a lot of times, or very close to being under contract. I want you to think bigger. I want you to think about all those relationships that you have in your world where you have to cultivate that relationship. Cultivate takes time. 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. I've had people in my world that have called me 4 years later and said, okay, Dave, we're ready to go. Now, these are people, mind you, that I didn't talk to on a regular basis, but when they called me, they knew who I was. And to them, we had just spoken yesterday, but it might have been 4 years since we'd actually spoken. Boom, we were off and running. Because I cultivated that relationship through an opportunity process and plan that kept me in front of them all the time. That stems back to your data bank, right? Contacts and smart plans. Am I reaching out to them deliberately, intentionally, purposefully, so that I'm always at the forefront of them? Did we have a conversation that deliberately says, when I'm ready to do something in real estate, Dave's my guy? So we'll call that cultivate. So when we look at this opportunity, you're going to see 5 phases: cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and close. Most whiteboards are typically active to closed. And that's how opportunity or transactions get missed a lot of times, is that we're busy being busy, okay, tracking deals, moving deals forward, and we're not cultivating those that were in the hopper. Have you heard of the real estate roller coaster? Like, I love roller coasters. I don't like that one. It's scary, right? I'll give you a real life example and then we'll jump into this. So in 2009, I think it was 9, maybe my second or third full year in the business, the market was still bottomed out in Arizona. It was crazy, but the investors were coming back because property was practically free. It was ridiculous. Right. I had, in the month of June, I had 10 closings in 1 month. Now, I will tell you, that's about the most that any solo person can handle in 1 month, is probably about 10 transactions. And I did it without a CRM, without digital contracts, without an admin, right? I'm not tapping myself on the shoulder. I'm learning, I'm letting you know that it was a mistake, and I didn't know what I didn't know at that time. And what happened is, at the end of June, I closed all those deals. But let me ask you, how many deals did I have in August and September? 0, right? Actually, I think it was like 2 and then 0. Because why did that happen to me?
You weren't lead generating during your busy month.
Yeah.
Stop lead generating. I didn't have any follow-up systems in place to keep my brand out in front of people, to keep lead generating. I wasn't specifically knowing who to call outside of the people I was managing on a day-to-day basis to do and get those transactions closed. We call that stage 3 of the transaction cycle. There's actually 3 phases to business. And when I get in your market centers, I map this out a little bit better for you. But there's a lead generation phase. We call that phase 1, where you do all these things to get people in the hopper. Then there's the follow-up phase, which may be, or is the longest phase. It could be 3 weeks to 4 years that you're constantly talking and communicating with people. And then there's the transactional phase that, in a traditional busy market, is a 110, 7 to 10 week period where you're getting them from under contract to closed. So I was stuck in that under contract to close, and I couldn't follow up or lead generate. So, and a lot of agents end up on that cycle. Now, with technology and command, it makes it a little bit easier. But what it gets scary for people, and I have this conversation regularly with a lot of productive agents, is that the automation that has taken place over the last 10 years became stale. Cookie recipes, clean your gutters, get your carpets refreshed. The silly nonsense that we started to send out fell on deaf ears because everybody did it. So if you go back to context and smart plans and you look at the messaging that you're able at your fingertips, what did we talk about? Where they're from, where they are, where they're going. That's relationship based. Birthdays, calling them, quarterly call plans, calling them. This is a technology platform. What am I talking about here, people? I'm talking about notes and calls. What's the technology allow you to do? It tells you when to make the notes and calls. Some things go out automatically for you. That's cool. But be clear of your message. Don't get lost in the noise. Separate yourself and be deliberate. There's no silver bullet to business success. Okay? It's systems and models. I get off my stand. Any thoughts on that topic before I jump into opportunities today? Bring up my screen. Log in a command. Give me a second. Make sure I'm not missing any slides here.
I got a question.
Share screen 3. Hit me with it.
So I use AM cards to help out. Sometimes I'm just busy, crazy busy. Is there a demonstrable difference between handwritten and something like what they do, as long as you send it out and it's personal?
I think it's always better to be personal, right? I think anytime you send like an auto pen generated, you can tell the difference that something was pre-printed. You took the extra step to make it look nicer, and it is a time saver. I would be careful to who I'm sending that to, right? If you have a vast database, you can't write cards to everybody. I get that. But if you specialize, and we talk about that top 150 to 300, and you put them in a box and said, hey, these people always get a handwritten note. I think that would be okay. And then for
Okay.
everybody else that you wanted to expand upon, and that was that auto pen, auto printed stuff, that might look a little different.
Or I could do that and make sure that my top 200 are also getting handwritten notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's that message, right? It's everything else I talked about, deliberate and personable and relationship based. If it looks printed, ask yourself that. That's the question I always told people to come back to. How do you feel if you were to receive whatever you're sending out? Got to be honest with yourself. Same goes to when we answer the phone, right? I do not answer the phone anymore if it's not a number that's in my phone, period, end of story. Because I know it's a sales call. I know they've gotten smart. I know they're calling me on local numbers now. Well, it's funny because I have a 480 number on my phone because I lived in Arizona all those years. I didn't change it. My local business number is 703, but my personal phone is 480. So anytime I get a 480 number call now, I know it's spam because all my friends from Arizona are in my phone. Everybody else, it's just a sales call. Beep, delete, block right into the hopper. When I get things in the mail, I can tell the difference on a printed envelope. And it's in cursive, but I can tell it's printed. A lot of those go right in the recyclable bin. Am I wrong, Harry? I mean, how do you feel when you receive those things?
Well, when I get calls, yeah, I have the same problem. I'm a peddler though, so for me, I can't like pick and choose, right? I'm sort of stuck. I got to answer it, but I did experiment by sending out. I would go into Facebook, save a picture of something like them with their dog or something that was touching, and then I can upload it right into my AM cards and it looks friggin' beautiful. I mean, it's stunning. And then a personal note. And I found that whether it was my broker or my TL or somebody I knew, they would always call me and say, oh my God, that was amazing. So it takes it a little bit. It's really good, right? It takes it to that next level. But I'm not dismissing. I mean, I handwrite. I'm Buffini, right? So I handwrite notes as well. And I thought the combination, if I'm not going to do all one, I could do both, right?
I'm not uber familiar with AM cards. So if you're able to personalize those cards a little bit more, but it's still automated, yeah, there's a difference there, right? I'm thinking more off the top of my head when I receive a printed card, standardized.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just telling you, it has not been. Some of the stuff was. I thought maybe I was too personal, because you're dipping into their private space, right? And yet. Yeah. I was real careful to ask for feedback. These are people that I love and trust, and just say, hey, is it creepy type of thing, right? And I never got that because the message behind it was something that had meaning and value. So anyway, just saying if it helps anybody.
I'm telling you is my personal experience. It's not necessarily right or wrong, right? So
I think it's right, though. I think you're right. I think maybe I can get away with a blend, but I think that handwritten always wins.
It always will, but I mean, you're testing things out, so your results may be different, right? I'm not a Buffini guy, but I talk very much like a Buffini guy, right? I was on a call with somebody the other day, and they actually asked me if I was a Buffini instructor. And I'm like, I've never actually even been to a Buffini class.
Yeah, that's because, right, the models that work, the platforms are secondary, right? Because models that work are the models that work and nothing else works. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And good companies, they find that model through failure, through whatever mechanism, but it always tends to be convergent reality, right?
Yep. And the funny thing is, so I had that conversation, but I've had the same exact conversation with people that I'll call Buffini-ites. Like my Mark Center was dramatically Buffini driven, which is great because they're uber successful. But when I talk about technology and utilizing any other platform adaptive to the Buffini style, I get a lot of resistance and pushback. And I'm like, guys, you're killing me here. I'm telling you everything that you're doing is correct, but we can adapt and utilize that in a platform and a program that's free, and you don't need to pay them for these other things. And it's just a very interesting dynamic when it comes to that. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's jump into opportunities. Any other thoughts? I mean, do you guys understand the conversation, Harry, we're just having? It comes down to being real. That's it. I believe in less is more. That's me. There are agents in my office that are uber successful that believe in more is more. Ben Kinney believes in more is more. A guy is doing a lot better off than I am. So you need to decide what works for you and own it and do it. Right? Ben Kinney owns offices all around the world. Okay. He believes in 10 days of pain, consistent follow-up, more numbers, more volume. He's not wrong. It's a machine, it's a system. I'll do my business in my world and I'm cool with that. I don't need to be global. Think bigger, but be you. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into today. Does everybody see my opportunities, your digital whiteboard screen? Is that on the screen for everybody?
Yep.
Fantastic. Thank you. So we kind of talked about that. So let me kind of ask you then. I talked about, but I want to hear your answers, right? I talked about opportunities, about when you should create an opportunity. So I'm going to throw this to the field. When do you feel, and you can answer both ways, when do you currently create an opportunity, or when do you think you should create an opportunity?
Maybe once you have, after you've spoken to your lead and you're actually going to start actively looking, or maybe when you have set an appointment to start working with the lead.
So either you've established a relationship with them or you've scheduled an appointment.
True. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts there?
I believe any potential lead is a potential opportunity. Opportunities might be where you do not expect them to be. So you need to pursue every opportunity. That just might be the break that you need.
Every lead is an opportunity. That's a fair point too, right? If they've raised their hand and said, I need help, the question is, what are you going to do, right? They may not be a warm lead. And this is an interesting topic, right? So Jason Abrams, or if anybody knows who Jason Abrams is, right? If you don't, you'll know. We talk about, here's another cycle. I gotta connect my tablet a little bit. We're going to do more whiteboard stuff. I know it's in Zoom, but I'm not set up to run them right now. There's another cycle, right? We talk about 3 to 7 years of people purchasing a property. That's about the average lifespan is 3 to 7. I think that's going to move closer to 5 to 10 because such low interest rates where everybody was for the last couple of years, right? Even though 5 is still low. Don't let your mind think that things are going crazy because interest rates are 5. 5 are still historically low numbers. We just got spoiled over the last 5 years. But the moment somebody raises their hand and say, I need help, it's a lead. What are your systems and such that you convert that lead, right? And where are they on that buying cycle? If they just bought a house yesterday, they're less of a warm lead, but they're still somewhere on the buying cycle, will be back again. If somebody connects to you on a Facebook lead, they're probably connecting with 25 other people. So what are your systems to follow up to close them, to get in front of them and turn them into yours? That's when we talk about systems. The word script, which I don't like, but scripting is practice, answers and rebuttals. But I take scripting a little bit further and I'll say internalization of your message. If you internalize your message, you're no longer scripted because you're being real. You can pivot and shift your message, but your message is clear to rebut whatever their yeah buts are, right? So think about, everybody is not going to be a buy now warm lead. Most people are going to be further down the cycle that are in that cultivate stage. So the moment you have a conversation with somebody about buying something or doing something or selling something, regardless of the timetable, you're now cultivating the relationship because they're no longer a lead, right? Because we talk about lead and command as a one-way conversation. You've now had a conversation. They know who you are. You know what they're looking for. They're now a contact. But you're cultivating that relationship or cultivating that opportunity to move them to the closing table, regardless of the time frame. That's my personal opinion. I'm full of those, right? Everybody's got one like rear ends, right? So that's my personal opinion, that you cultivate that relationship. And there are things that you strategically do to move them forward. And that cycle changes rapidly, faster than you ever really imagined. Regardless of what they tell you, their time frame is always usually different. I've had clients tell me, I'm in my 3rd trimester, I'm 8 months pregnant, we're going to nest and then we're going to buy the house next year. I knew leaving that appointment with them that I would have them under contract before she had the baby. I was able to read the situation. I knew what she was saying. I could hear what she was saying. And in her mind and his mind, they wanted to be where they were going to be to nest and not have to move after that. I got a call within 48 hours. We went, it was like an episode of like Property Brothers. I showed them 3 properties in the dark. We wrote a contract on the hood of their car, and we were under contract within 6 days of me having that initial meeting when they told me they weren't going to buy for another year. If I had taken them at face value and I didn't deliberately send them properties immediately that I felt met their situation, and I waited, I could have lost the opportunity to convert them now. You have to listen to what they're telling you, because what they're telling you isn't always fact. You have to act. And the moment you meet with somebody and talk to somebody, what are those action steps? Get them in the mobile app. Start showing them properties. Start showing them value. Get them introduced to a lender if it makes sense. Start talking about the life cycle. They will always add buffer space because they don't want to be pressured. And I'm not telling you to pressure them. I'm telling you to be systematic and deliberate about your message. Does that feel right?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, how do you factor in pre-approvals? Someone might be a potential lead, an opportunity, but they are not pre-approved. I've heard people say showing property or going with someone who is not pre-approved is almost wasting your time, because even if you find a good property, they just might not afford that. So how does that factor in as you go along? Thank you.
Of course it factors in, but it's a different stage, right? If I meet somebody at an open house today, they may or may not be pre-approved, or at least that I know of, or they haven't been pre-approved with my lender or a lender that I know, or show me a letter. It's not going to stop me from talking to them. It's going to stop me from going further with them until we can get there. They're going to be on a buyer broker agreement with me first before I show them a property, right? And at that point, I'm going to know who their lender is, or I'm going to introduce them to somebody. But I'm still cultivating that relationship before I get to are they pre-approved? Pre-approval comes probably at the appointment phase. When we start deliberately talking about looking at and buying property, then they absolutely need to be pre-approved with somebody. Quicken Loans isn't going to work for me. It might be a start, but they're going to be on a buyer broker agreement. I might start with that Quicken Loans, and then I'm going to say, hey, do you mind if I introduce you to somebody that and shop your rates a little bit that might be able to help you, or introduce you to KW Mortgage, right? Because it's a low barrier of entry. You're able to get a very inexpensive loan that I know will close. If you're talking about saving money, people are all about it. If they're real, they'll be with you. If they're not real, they don't want to show you that information, then I'm probably not going to take them out, but I'm still going to try to cultivate them so I can. All right. So now let's get back into the business. I'm bring up my screen here. You guys are logged in on command. That's fine too. Minimize my screen. You can hear my lovely baritone voice, and that'll get you where you need to be. But we're going to drop down here. We're going to look at opportunities. It's what I call the opportunities dashboards, the 2 hands shaking hands. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through that, and then we're going to go ahead and actually create an opportunity. And if you haven't done this before, that's okay. We'll get you there. So this is the dashboard. What you see across the top is exactly what we started talking about. Cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, closed. Listings, buyer, and leases. 3 different topics, types of transactions with 5 different phases, right? Those are unique and standardized for everybody in the KW ecosystem, because smart people have gotten together and said, this is the life scale of a lead to transaction to close. Cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and close. Okay, we good there? Below those, and anybody know what a Russian nesting doll is? There's little dolls that stack inside each other and they get bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So if you think of the listing as the giant, the last one, right? This listings dashboard. And then as they get smaller and smaller, there's closed, appointment, active, under contract, and close. And in each side of one of those, there are stages. There may be multiple stages. And then inside of each stage are checklists of things that you do to advance the transaction forward. And it starts to snowball and get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Right? If you've read The One Thing and you know the domino effect, Anybody read the one thing and aware of the domino effect, right? That's where, believe it or not, a domino of 2 inches, if you increase it by 50%, after 32 factors of that domino would hit the moon. Read the book. It's pretty staggering to think about how small an action and compounding an action can be to lead generate and build your business. All right. So on this dashboard, we've got cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. At the end of the screen, you see a GCI numbers, potential GCI and probable income. This is a game, okay? Because you're either getting 100% commission or none of it. You guys understand that, right? You don't get, this isn't like trophies for Little League where you get a participation trophy. You don't get a participation commission check. Well, you almost got them to the closing table, so we'll give you a little something. Thanks for participating. No, that's not real world, right? They close or they don't. You get 100% or 0. But in our system, we want to gamify things for you a little bit, right? So potential income is the total value of your opportunity pipeline, if you think of it as a pipeline, of everything you said, okay, here's in my database from cultivate to close, average price points, average commission. If everything that's in here closes, I'll make $286,000. That's potential, okay? The probability comes into play, and we'll look at this in a minute, is the further you get into the transaction, right? If I'm in cultivate, the probability of me closing them might be 10 or 15% or less. The further I move them along and they go to the appointment stage, and I know that if I get in front of you, I close 70% of the people I meet face to face. If I get you active as a buyer or listing, I'm at 87% that I'm gonna get you to the closing table. If I get under contract, I know I'm at 92% closing effective rate. Things happen, right? And then close is closed. That's the only true 100% on the table. Close is closed. So that probable income is the percentage that you achieve by moving it forward and only achieving 100% when you're closed. And these two numbers, potential and probable, will never be the same unless you only do one transaction at a time. But if you're doing the system right, they're going to continue to spread and come closer and spread and come closer. You guys follow? All right, fantastic. Now, as you scroll down the board a little bit more, like I said, you've got listings, buyers, and leases. Leases compose both, right? Lessors and lessees, they're both in one. We don't split those out. Bottom down, what are your ratios? How many listings are you looking at? How many buyers you're looking at? How many leases you're looking at? What's your activity? And what's your activity been like per month? The more you work in production, the more you work with your PC coach, the more you work with your team leader, ATL, whoever, who is assisting guide you, or even your rainmaker, they're going to talk to you about the lore, language of real estate. You have to know your numbers. I just spouted off what my numbers were you for conversion rates. Do you know your numbers? Most people don't. Most people have no idea what their numbers are. You can't be successful. You don't know your numbers. You have to know what's my goal, right? How am I going to achieve my goal? I need X number of listings and the next number of buyer contracts to achieve my growth profit goals. I have to go on so many appointments to get so many people closed. I have to go and get so many contracts to get so many people closed. I've got to meet so many new people, put them in my database to get into an appointment, to get them under contract, to get them closed. What are your conversion rates? You got to know your numbers. We call that the language of real estate. A little deeper, but that's a business conversation that you need to be able to have with yourself, and you can get them from your PC coach and your team leader. Okay. Have anybody heard of that type of conversation before? You familiar with that? If not, that's okay. You're new to this. Remember, you're an aspiring entrepreneur and business owner. You're new to this, but these things are all real, and these are the type of things you need to know to be successful sooner. All right. And then closings this month, they'll be at the bottom. So this is your dashboard. Okay. Now I'm going to go a little deeper here. Okay. You could create an opportunity from this page. I'm going to tell you that while you can do this, more times than not, you're going to create an opportunity from the contact card. And so that's where we're going to start when I create one here in a second. But I want to go a little bit deeper inside of these and show you what they look like. Okay. If I go into Cultivate, remember I talked about that nesting doll? Cultivate shows me 3 additional layers there. Watch, nurture, and hot. Everybody has those. Watch what they're doing, nurture them, massage them, right? And hot, they're ready to start doing things now. That means I got to get them into an appointment phase. I get them to sign an agreement to do something with me. Do not show properties. Who knows the answer to this? Y'all, some of you have been in business, some of you new. If I show properties to somebody without a buyer broker agreement, who do I represent?
Nobody.
The seller.
I actually represent the seller. If I actually take you into a property to look at a property, right? And I don't have a contract with you, my fiduciary, believe it or not, actually can fall in line with the seller. So be very careful about taking people out. And I will tell you this from personal experience, because I don't lie about these things. I've been burned. I've actually been like, you guys know Jerry Maguire? Have you seen Jerry Maguire? Jerry Maguire. Anybody seen Jerry Maguire? There's a scene in there, right, where the dad shakes hands with Jerry Maguire over a contract for the #1 draft pick in the NFL and says, my word is strong as oak. They didn't have a contract. What happened to Jerry Maguire? Haven't you seen Jerry Maguire? I mean, is that even possible?
Show me the money.
Well, yeah, but what happened to Jerry Maguire? My word is stronger than oak is what the dad told him, right? Nobody? Natalie, come on, work with me
It's
here.
been so long.
They burned him and went with somebody else.
Thank you. He signed with the other guy. He signed with Jay Moore, that sleaze, right? He signed a contract with somebody else. These people will do this to you. It has happened to me, and I know better. I absolutely know better. And I've done it anyways, because I trusted people. My word is stronger than oak. That is my bond. I will work with you. And then I've been burned. Don't be that person. I don't care who they are in your world. Your mom, put her under contract. Mom, we're not going anywhere until you sign this document. I tell you, there are people not only in your world, but in your family, mom might be a stretch, that will burn you because you made an assumption. We covered that earlier. What happens when you make an assumption? Everybody?
Make an ass out of you and me.
And me.
You get burned.
I cannot emphasize this point enough for you. And if you're sitting there going, that doesn't happen to me, you're wrong. It hasn't happened to you yet. Period.
David, doesn't the state of Virginia require you to have one?
It does. Does that mean everybody does?
Yeah, but they're a nice person to blame if they're giving you grief.
I'm just saying, yes, the state of Virginia requires it. That's why I said, who do you represent? Because if you don't, you represent the seller. State of Virginia requires you to have one. I can tell you, I guarantee you, 40, I bet if I had to put my bet on it, I would say 40% of you, if not more, show houses to people without a buyer broker agreement in place. And that law has been in place for 10 years because it actually started when I first moved here in 2012. And it freaked people out, which we had to do it in Arizona before I moved here. So I was used to it. And I was kind of staggered by the fact that people thought it's so hard, but they still fight it. They think it's going to scare the buyers away from them. It's mindset, people. It is the law, but I guarantee you're going to find yourself in a situation. Well, I'll just do it this one time. I'll just show them one house. I'll win them over. Been there, done that. Burned. Showed them a house, after an open house down the street. Come here. Woof, woof. Showed them a house around the corner after an open house. They went and wrote a contract with somebody else. Literally wrote a contract with somebody else 2 hours after I showed them the house. I tried to fight it. Right? I didn't interrupt the transaction. I tried to fight it with my broker. My broker's like, you don't have a leg to stand on. They sent over a buyer broker agreement with somebody else. I was SOL. I had no procuring cause. I knew they hadn't seen the other house. People do that to you. The struggle is real. Don't say it won't happen to you because it absolutely will.
And David, another way to look at it is if you're, as a realtor, are willing to cut a corner there and break the law there, what does that say about your own integrity and the integrity of the other agents you're working with? If they're willing to bend that rule, what other rules are they willing to bend?
You're only going to learn these life lessons by getting burned. You can listen to me, not listen to me, but I don't lie. I value myself as a coach and a trainer through my life's experiences for you and for what I've seen others go through. Learn what you will. Melissa's like, yeah, this ain't ever going to happen to me. She shows everybody house without buyer broker agreement. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm passionate about this for you guys. If you leave this class for one thing, be like, David gives a shit, because I do. I want you to all be in here in 5 years. Laws tell me that, the numbers tell me that you won't be, but I want you to be. I want us to do more. I want us to be better. I want you all to be successful. And your success only comes from the work that you put into it. All right, so sorry, off my soapbox again. So watch, nurture. So I could create different stages. Now, as a new agent, you're gonna be like, well, what the hell does that mean? I'm gonna send you some stuff. So part of the action for tonight, I'm gonna send you a list. I'm gonna send you a list of stages. You're gonna have to build them in your system because the system doesn't have libraries and stuff like that. But I'm gonna send you a spreadsheet that's got buyer, listings, leases, stages, phases, and checklists for you guys to build out underneath it. Does that make you feel a little bit better? Because you don't know what you don't know, right? Now, if you're on a team, your team may have done this. If your team hasn't done this, you're going to have a checklist to kind of go back to your team with and be like, hey, how do we utilize this? Because they may have their own version, but it's a great jumping off point, a starting point to build your business. What happens? And then these things are like Trello cards. So I can grab these 6 ellipses, right? We talked about this, and I can move things around. I can move them there, and then I can move this. Oh, you know what? This person's now active, so I can drop them into the active phase. See, they disappeared here altogether. So now they're up here under active. Now see this on the right-hand, bottom right-hand side? It says 0 out of 5. And when I move it from there to here, and now it says 0 out of 8. Actually, it says 0 out of 16, sorry. Because I have checklists in my system. And that is saying, hey, there are things that need to happen at this stage to move this forward. So I just click on this card here. Every stage has its own set of checklists. What do I do for the consumer? Am I not sharing my screen?
You are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. Well, somebody just asked. That's why I was confused. All right. Sorry about that. Maybe you just need to refresh your screen. No worries. Minnie Mouse. Where's Minnie Mouse? Okay. Oh, yeah. I have fun with things. So I have these built out, and I'll send you these lists so you can have them too. But I also have this other thing, client update and due date. You have to hold yourself accountable to when you're going to do things, right? When I set these due dates, where do you think these due dates go?
Your
They
task
upload
list.
into our calendar, right?
Well, not to your calendar, but somebody else said something else before that.
Task list.
You go to your task list, right? And your task list inside of Command goes where?
The first page.
Your
To your
phone.
app.
Goes to your phone, right? Command desktop goes command phone. So you log in each day, and this is what and I'm going to butcher your name, and I'm sorry about it. Shinedu said, hey, I was having trouble seeing my tasks. So if you're having trouble, talk to your marketing tech trainer, but they should surface on your phone so you can take action. You don't have to be at your desktop. You're on the grow, right?
Sure.
Remember my trademark on the grow? Don't steal that. I got it. It's patent pending. So you can do those things from your phone now. But set yourself reminders in your due dates of what you're doing during the transaction. This other thing that's here is called this client update. I actually love this. Right. So if I go up here to this little, I'm going to come back out to the stages, my home page. There's a little settings wheel on the upper right hand side. So each of your opportunities, you have the ability to engage what we call client updates. So for those of you who've been in the business, this will resonate with you a little bit. Every day when you're doing things, move a transaction forward, what do you usually do at the end of the day to alert the consumer that you did things?
Text them.
Text them. Okay. What else do you do?
Send an email.
Send an email, or you may call them, right? The system will send an auto-generated email for you. So if I said, hey, I did these things for you. Oh, why's my screen up there? I did these things for you today that I deemed client updatable, which means they need to know that I did these things. So I have an alert in my system, and I don't know why that's glitching out, but you saw it there for a second, that at 7 o'clock each night, an email goes out to everybody that I have an opportunity for, that if I did things for them today, I'm going to go back to the opportunity now. If I did things for them today that were marked as a client updatable item on my checklist, then they will receive an email from me saying, "Hi, Caitlin, this is Dave Donaldson. Here are the 3 things that I did today for you to move this transaction forward." It's an auto-generated email. You can turn them on or turn them off, but they only go out. I can tell I'm glitchy. Are you guys hearing me okay? Okay.
We hear you fine.
All right. But it only goes out if you want it to. But it's an important thing. But it only works if you have checklists. And it only works if you set those client update alerts.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely, Harry.
So I'm not a big, we do email, right? I mean, that's part of what we do, but it seems like text in today's world is more prevalently accepted amongst my clients. Is there a way to do that with the text?
Not yet. I mean, outside of you doing it on your own.
Yeah, well, of course.
Right now, the first phase is automated through email because it creates a nice, crisp template. It looks very nice. The challenge is on text. Everything's going to be, it's based off of what you said your checklist item was, right? And you're limited by text characters and screen space.
Yep.
So it's not going to look very well. It'll get the message across, and I agree with you. But formatting is going to be a challenge.
Okay, thank you.
So that's just kind of where, and I haven't heard any conversations about turning this into a text format. Obviously, with Twilio, we could do things. That would be something that I would tell you to go to ideas.kw.com. See if it's there, create it, and then share it with people in your world to get that voted up so they take a look at it. But you could certainly do it. It's not automated, but you can certainly do that, right? Yeah, exactly. You could even say, "Hey, I just sent you an email. Let's hear it." But Barbara brought up a question. If they get 1 meal, thank you. I didn't hammer that across. So no matter how many things I did for you today, you get 1 email at 7 o'clock. You're not going to get an email because I did 7 things. You're not going to get 7 emails that, "Hey, David called Mr. Utility. David called Realty Signpost. David called the principal photographer. David called videographer. David called 123 Junk." It's 1 email that everything I did today bulks it together. Here's all the things David did today, and they go out at 7 o'clock. Does that work for you, Barbara? Awesome. Any questions around client updates, stages, phases, and checklists? You guys are all masters? Fantastic. All right. One other thing I want to show you on the screen before we go in and create one is what happens after we close. So this screen, right, for all intents and purposes, is a month at a glance. What's going on in your world this month? And I get this call all the time that people say, "Hey, David, I closed 15 deals this year, but my closed says 0. And I'll be like, "Great. Did you close any this month?" No. Okay. This closing is this month. It's not historical. It's in the moment. Now, these other ones, because I haven't closed, are always going to be accruing. Close is the ones that will always be there for the month and then disappear post-closing, right? We close our books each month. It resets. So what happens is under your All Opportunities tab at the top, this is where your digital display comes into play. When I said, "Hey, what does this look like?" Where'd Melissa go? She fell off my screen. What does this look like? Oh, okay. What does this look like, Melissa?
A whiteboard hanging on your wall.
Right? You like that?
Yeah, that's cool.
So this is your whiteboard, right? And I can go in here. Now, all my closings are here, right? So my historical data is here. And it tells me type, address, who was the client, right? Listing, phase, volume, commissions, close dates, and tags, right? We talked about tags earlier. Are all right here on the screen. But I can also filter this data. Show me all my listings. Show me all my buyers. Show me all my closed, right? Show me that for this month. Show me that we're this year. And you can create these saved smart views just like you could with contacts, right? So I actually have those built already. Look, my opportunities, show me all closed listings. Screen refreshes. And if you're running a team, you could build this. Now I don't have a team, so I would have another display here that I could filter by person. So this is your digital display. This is what you're going to have up on your whiteboard each and every day. And this will become more customizable over time because what we don't see are like dates and stuff, but they're all on the details page and your tasks. But we're going to continue to flush this out more. But I just kind of want you to see where this is going. And guess what is also on your phone now? Your opportunities. So if you need move people or create opportunities or move them from one phase to another, you can do it from the phone. You don't have to be at your desktop. That started this month. We released that update this month. So we're rapidly rolling down the track here, guys, to make your lives 1,000 times easier, but you still have to work on your business. It only has the amount of data that you provide for it. You still got to give it information, right? So if you're haphazard about how often you're doing things, then it's haphazard in what it does. Right now, I'm going to go into opportunities. We're going to create one. Any questions on these two dashboard or display screens that we just kind of walked through? We good? All right, so I'm going to go to a contact. So I'm just going to go back to my contact screen. $10 o'clock. I'm only on 2 cups of coffee and I'm already bouncing off walls here. My coffee's a little stronger today. All right, just going to look up a contact. That's always my test account. So this is a contact card. Right, we went over this. We're familiar with this. You guys have been looking at this, right? But across the top now, we see opportunities. So obviously, my son is my test case. He doesn't actually have 13 opportunities. He's only 16. So I'm going to make him wait till 18 till he buys his first house. But I want to give you an example real quick of understanding what's an opportunity, right? And what's a contract. This happens a lot of times too for people. Every time somebody buys something, whether they list or buy, it's an opportunity, right? They have an opportunity to buy something. They have an opportunity to sell something. However, inside of each opportunity, you might have to write multiple contracts or make multiple offers till you get one ratified. You don't create a new opportunity for every time you write a buyer's contract unless they're buying multiple properties, right? If they're a buyer and their intent is to buy one property, you will create multiple offers until you get them closed. One opportunity for one transaction, although each transaction might have multiple offers. Does that make sense? Some people fall into the opportunity. No, opportunities and contracts are not equal. One opportunity can have multiple contracts. If they're different, where you have to sell somebody's property and they're buying something, that's 2 separate opportunities. You have the opportunity to sell their house. You have the opportunity to get them to buy something. And each of those could have multiple, well, listing would have multiple received contracts, and their buying you could have written multiple contracts. So there's a difference there. So do know that there's a distinguishable difference in that capacity. Now, under opportunities, this is where I said, hey, you probably end up creating the opportunity for this contact here. Now, this will work exactly the same if you were on the dashboard and you click create opportunities. The only difference is this, that when you click create opportunities from the contact card, it will automatically put the contact's information in here. If you were on the opportunities page and you click create contact, you would have to go type in the contact's name and that would pull them from your database. Now, here's something you need to know. In order to get paid, more importantly, in order to get paid, there are certain things that you have to do inside of Command. Write this down. You have to have a contact. They have to be in your database. That contact has to have an opportunity. That opportunity has to have an offer that's accepted. Then you have to submit your commissions request. And you have to provide your supporting documents that have been signed by your broker. Those things all have to happen inside the system or you will not get paid. Now, there's a weird thing that's happened over the years where agents have started to blame brokers because they didn't get paid. Now, I don't understand this concept because I was passionately protective of my money, and I made BFFs with my MCA to make sure that I didn't screw anything up. But agents like to blame people for missing paperwork. That's the agent's fault. Happens every day. I see it every day. I didn't get paid. Great. You didn't create an opportunity. You didn't submit your digitally signed paperwork, and we don't have a commissions request. What are we supposed to do? Tickler. Be real with yourself, people. Your contracts go into the system within 48 hours of ratification. They don't go in post-closing. They go in 48 hours after ratification. Know your rules for your market center. Know your rules to get paid. Be real with yourself and do not make those that pay you's job hard. Brokers and MCAs, they're there to protect you and help you. Give them cookies, give them candy, give them love. They control your funds. Don't understand that mindset. All right, off my soapbox again. Yes, take your MCA to lunch. Bribe them regularly. Kidding me? If you make a mistake, they're going to help you out. You make a mistake often enough and blame them, you're screwed. That's just me. All right, so creating the opportunity. Market center will populate, opportunity type. I have multiple market centers. That's why I had to choose mine. This next step is important because if you choose this wrong, you got to start all over again. There's no way to change the opportunity because it becomes locked. So if I'm doing representing a lister, I got to tell the system I'm taking a list. If I'm representing a buyer, I got to tell the system I'm making a buyer. And the reason I tell you that this gets wrong more times than not is because agents don't do their paperwork in time. They're in a rush to get paid. They run through this. They put a listing when it's a buyer and it's all cattywampus and they don't get paid and they don't know why because they created it wrong. Take your time. Do it on the proper timetables, which means get them in the system ahead of and on track, and you'll never make a mistake. If you're in a rush, that's when mistakes happen. Okay. Opportunity name, it will default to listing or buyer. And my recommendation is this. If it's a listing, change it to the property address. If it's a buyer and you've ratified, go back and change it to the property address. It's always easier to find information based on property address than people's names. So if it's a listing, always name it by the property address. If it's a buyer, more than times than not, you're not going to know the address yet because you're creating a buyer broker agreement first. And then you're going to write offers before you ratified. Once you're ratified, you can come back in and change the opportunity name, change it to the property address. It's a clerical item that will make your life easier and make life easier for the brokers and the MCAs. They will love you because they get a lot of calls from other people that might be involved in the transaction looking for things. And when they get called, they're either going to get an MLS number or a property address and probably the wrong name of somebody that's involved. And it's going to be hard for them. And then you're going to see a global email go out and says, hey, who has property on 123 Main Street? Because we've got missing data because the contracts aren't in the system. So is that fair? Can you guys agree to do that? Listings get listing addresses, buyers get buyers' names, and then convert to listing buyers' addresses once you ratify the contract. Best practice, okay? Use your tags. Remember we talked about tags, right? I said, hey, maybe it's a VA. Maybe it's FHA, right? Maybe it's cash, right? Maybe it's going to be a certain lender or a certain title company that you're using, right? Universal title. So create tags for yourself. So you tag the opportunities. That's going to be different than your tags for your contacts. On the list that I send you, we'll also have tags to create for opportunities to give you some clarity around that, okay? And I like to use colors in my tags. So like all different title companies might be purple. All my lenders might be black. My different loan types might be green. That's just a secondary sort that works for me based off color. I know what I'm utilizing. Not everybody's as anal and organized as I am. All right. Estimated close date. When do you think they're going to close? It's an estimation. Don't overthink it. Okay. So let's just drop one in there. Estimated listing price. I think the house will go on the market for $795. Average commission rates. If you know your numbers, right, you know that maybe you take listings at 3% because I typically do. Not always, but typically. But you might be different. If I'm representing a buyer, I will tell you most of the industry standards, probably 275 to 2.5 is about usually what you're getting on the street, because people have been getting agreements at a lower rate. So be true to what your conversion rates are. And then where am I going to put them? Are they going to be in the cultivate? Are they under appointment? Or are they active? Now, you remember when I showed you the dashboard, there were actually 5 phases, right? Cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. The system is forcing you to start at either cultivate, appointment, or active. You cannot put it in directly as under contract or closed, because that's the system telling you you're wrong. So you're going to have to start and then move ahead if you didn't do your paperwork. I will tell you, in order to understand your transactional numbers better, you should always start at a cultivate. You'll have higher conversion rates over time. If you wait to go to active, you're going to lose people early on in their cycles, and you're going to miss opportunities in transactions. So the moment you have a conversation, and somebody said this earlier, now I don't think every lead is an opportunity per se, but the moment I have a substantive conversation about what their needs are and what their timetables might be, then I'm going to create an opportunity. Even if it's 24 months. Hey, I'm 24 months out. Great. There are things that I do in my world at 24 months out to just move them along. And that's something as simple as getting them to use my mobile app, getting them up on a biweekly neighborhood nurture, getting them up on a safe search, maybe send them some lenders. The more you feed them, the quicker they may move. If you wait, you could miss out. And that'll happen to you too, because it's happened to me. So get in the habit of starting with cultivate. Now things may move faster for you, which is good, but don't wait to put them into active. I assure you, you're going to miss a transaction. All right, so let's go ahead and drop them in here. And now when that happens, on the right-hand side on the contact card, I'm going to see that new opportunities there. It's also on the dashboard, but I'm going to go into this because there are details that I want you to know about for this transaction, okay? Every opportunity for every contact has a set of details pages, and you'll see it when you click on it right here. Details, profile, marketing, documents, offers, notes, and timeline. Every time you're doing things now with this consumer, you should be updating the details. Did you advance their timeline? Did you move them along? Did you have an appointment? What we really didn't cover earlier on this transaction, your PC coaches will cover you with this, is you're going to set your goals, right? Because actually inside of reports, there's a goal setting feature where you could say, hey, I need to make $200,000 this year, which in order to get that, I need 12 closings. I need 6 listings and 6 buyers. And in order to get 6 listings and 6 buyers, I need to go on 400 appointments, whatever that looks like, right? The system will track your data for you if you give the system the data. So if you set your goals, and then you create opportunities, and then within the opportunities, you give it dates, a scheduled appointment, and I held the appointment, then that'll earmark up against your goal setting and say that you're on track to meet your goals. If you don't put the dates in here, it can't update you where you are against your goals, right? So you have to keep feeding the beast to make the data work for you. We good? Harry, how's that feel for your PC people?
Feels good, especially if they'd actually fill in their goals and their reports, and it helps me out rather than having to get what they've done after the fact.
Right. So that goal setting should be one of the, like, we're talking about setting up, but that goal setting conversation for you guys that are brand new, or even if you're not, should happen right away. Go meet with your PC coach or go meet with your team leader. Set your goals. Because if you don't have goals, then you're working blind. Right. And those goals should be up in your office. Right. I actually have them right here on my desk. Somewhere. I know they're here. I'm not lying. They're exactly where I left them. Anyways, they're in my office. I know exactly what my goals are for the region. Okay. I have them. $6.3 million in revenue, 4,700 gross agents, right? 1,900 gained, $2 million in capital gains and royalties. That's our overall numbers for the region. Right? I know them on the top of my head. I also have them printed out. You should be able to spit those out for yourself. They're gonna be a little different. Obviously, they're gonna be applied to your business. All right, so you're always updating this information, therefore it turns around and it updates back to your contracts, okay? Select from listings. Once you have an active listing, it'll be in the system. We can connect the listing from the system, okay, to your property, and then the details will populate. So if you have an active listing and you're the lister, you're going to connect that information to your system. It'll pull that from the MLS. If you're working with an active buyer and you wrote a contract and you connect that listing to that active listing that you wrote an offer on, that detail will pull into your database, which will then feed to tomorrow's class, which is DocuSign for writing contracts. Okay. Now, if I write an offer and it fell out, then I have to come back here and change his property address. I got to update. I don't create a new opportunity, but I do have to update the details around that opportunity. You have a seller's net sheet. Your PC coach will work through that with you, right? If you start working on things like that. So that's the details page, constantly being updated, okay? Seller profile. We didn't really go over this too much, but on your command app and on your command desktop, when they have an account, you guys should take a look at this. There's a seller's feed or guide, it's actually called seller's guide or buyer's guide, that walks them through the process of buying and selling a transaction. And as they're doing things and you're checking off benchmarks, you can track that through here and they'll see it on their side. Marketing. This is a new release this month, which is really cool. Did you guys go over this yesterday when you went over designs? Did she show this to you guys? No? Okay. It's brand new. So when you create a listing, or if you have a buyer, right? This is more on listing side right now. It'll recommend material for you to create around that listing. Okay. And depending on where they are, what phase they are, active, under contract, closed, it'll create different templates for you. Just listed, just sold, closed, for you to go in and either print postcards or create social media announcements, create open house flyers, and they'll be all suggested for you right here. Client testimonial, right if it closed, making your life easier. You go, this will take you right to the design element. It'll pull in the photography and all the data about that property, and boom, you're off and running. This is sexy and cool and brand new this month. Documents. We're going to take a deeper dive into documents tomorrow, but documents are uber important because you have to have your contract docs. You're going to write your contract docs inside of DocuSign. Okay. Most market centers use DocuSign, but not all. Okay. But tomorrow's class will be on DocuSign. But if you don't use DocuSign, you're still going to use this portal to upload your contract documents. Okay. Every market center has a checklist of documents that you have to get paid. You're either going to do a manual upload, or you're going to pull them in from either Dotloop or DocuSign, Authentisign, Instanet, wherever. You'll be able to pull them into your system. This is then you send it to your broker and they say yes, or they send you love notes and say no, you're missing things. And the cool thing is when there are notifications that happen inside the system, guess where you get the notifications?
On your phone.
On your phone. Thank you very much. I've got questions coming in about referrals and I'm not ignoring you. I'm going to come back to that. Okay. And a couple of those ignoring. So commissions have to write. So I'm going to have details, documents, and then once you ratify an offer, okay, whether it's a buyer or a seller, you're going to ratify an offer. And here's what I recommend, again, knowing your numbers. Most people don't take this advantage of this page fully. What they wait to do is go, I have to put an offer in the system in order to get paid, so I'm going to wait till I ratify a contract. I challenge you to be better for yourself, okay? So what I would do, yes, that marketing tab should be, actually, I think it's retroactive, but it's not on Teams. That I can tell you, it's not on Teams, it's only on Solo Agent. So Sarah, I don't know if you're on a team or not, but it should be retroactive to all.
I'm not on a team and I don't see it on here either.
Really? Okay. Then I might be wrong. My understanding was it was retroactive. I'm going to go check. I'll go back and test an opportunity that I know has been up there and we'll see. So maybe I got some wrong information, but we'll clarify that for you before we get off this call. Okay. Awesome. All right. So creating an offer. If you take a listing, chances are you're going to have multiple offers. That's the type of market we're in. Okay. Tracking those offers is important. Some people put them in a spreadsheet. Some people don't. I'm telling you to put all your offers in the system. Initial offer, offer one, Donaldson offer, whatever that is. Okay. Create offer. All right. And then you're going to give it. wrong? Okay, there we go. Initial offer. What was the offer date? It was today. When do they want to close on the house? The 31st. Okay. What parties are involved in the transaction? Your information will default to the transaction. The buyer's information, you would have to put them in there, right? The buyer might be Joe Smith. Right. There's some default information. You have to have the agent's information in it. Maybe I'm working with Harry. I would put Harry's information in there. All right. Then if I go to my term sheet, what did they offer? They're offering $450 in cash. They're financing $450. Screen. There you go. Purchase price is $900,000. What's their earnest amount? Whether it's a cash or a percentage, right? Option fees. Remember, this is a national platform. We don't have option fees, but some states do. So we don't do that here. Okay. Termination option. What are their contingencies? So I always use this for the very last contingency date, and which is usually a financial contingency if we know if they exist, right? So I might have a 21-day financial contingency hurdle. That's my last contingency or back out date for them to terminate the option to purchase, right? Enter closing costs. Are we getting contributions from sellers right now? If you are, you're amazing. Or you've got a really bad positioned property, right? That's typically not happening now. Agent analysis. This is for you and your consumer. What's good about this deal? Because you're going to be able to share this information with me, right? Pros. I know that Harry is a good agent. We've worked before. Might be a full price offer, right? Offer not where we thought we would escalate. Okay. Overall summary. I know my spelling's butchered, but I'm typing fast. Now I've got this offer here. And I will put every offer in that I've received for this transaction. Okay. And if I added another one, I would actually be able to export this data and then send it to my consumer, which will come up in an Excel spreadsheet where they can look at all that information we just put. So I can talk them through the offers that they have. You can download it, you can email it, you can do whatever you need to do. If they decide to say, hey, we're going to accept this offer, boom, we're going to ratify that contract. Now you could submit that commission to your market center. Price of the house. I'm missing the contract date, so I have to put some general information in there. Let's just say it was today. What is today? Today's the 12th, right? Today's the 5th. We can't be in the future. Surprise, let me pick the future 5th. There we go. Save. What's my commission rate? What's the total commission? Adjust that as necessary. Units. Your unit is always 1 if you're a solo agent. Your unit will change by your split. Okay, if you're on a team. If you're on a team, you might be on a 70-30 split, so maybe it's 0.7. Or you're on a 50-50 split, so 0.5. What percentage of the commission are you keeping is what they're asking for total unit count, right? Because if someone portion of that will get applied to you, a portion will get applied to the rainmaker on your team. If you're doing a referral, it might be 0.75 and 0.25 is going to somebody else, okay? Create changes there, and then payment. So you would apply all the details. Your commission split would be in here. It'll default to your split. It'll default with your royalty. Double check the data, right? If you are capped, it'll adjust. If this puts you over your cap in the transaction, the MSA will back that on the other side. It's not like, say I owe $1,500 to cap, but this says this accounts for a company commission of $5,400 to go their way. That will be adjusted. The system is not smart enough now to know that it only has to take a smaller percentage of your commission. Your pay will be correct. It will be adjusted on the back end. It's just not completely there for real time yet, because you may have other transactions that are processing that haven't caught up with itself. So don't panic about that. You can always check in with your broker or your MCA, but you will always be paid properly, I assure you. And if you make a mistake on any of this, your MCA will have your back. You won't get paid wrong if you put the wrong dollars in here. You put the wrong percentage in here. They'll fix it. And if you notice it, you can say, hey, I screwed it up. They can be edited. Okay. So don't panic that if you put something in wrong that you're going to get paid wrong. It will always be paid properly. The MCAs are very, very good at what they do to make sure you're paid right and the company's paid right. Any other deductions you may have, if you make deductions in KW Cares, if you have E&O insurance, if you have commissionectomy that has to take place, right? Who knows what a commissionectomy is? Nobody knows? Commissionectomy means, did I have to contribute some of my proceeds to get this over the finish line? Right? Did something happen that either the seller didn't want to pay for or the buyer's pissed about that happened, that if I don't pay $150 because the carpet got dirty at close of escrow, when they were moving out, that everybody's going to be in a tizzy? Or, hey, the sellers took the speakers of the house and the chandelier out that they shouldn't have taken them and they refused to bring it back. And the buyer needs to be compensated, but the seller won't do it. So maybe I'm throwing a couple shekels in to get her done. That's all a commissionectomy. I don't recommend them, but they do happen sometimes. So be careful with that. But understand your money is yours, but be careful. And you're just gonna say, hey, is it a bonus? Is it a concession? Which is what that would be. Is it a deduction? Maybe I flat up agreed to pay for something, right? Is it an outside referral? Am I sending a referral to Barbara because she recommended me a client in Ashburn? I took 75 and I'm sending her 25%. So that was an outside referral, right? Was it an inside referral? That means inside the market center. Right? If Carol and I are in the same market center, but I don't do business in DC and she does, but we're in the same market center, I pass her a referral to do that transaction for me. So that's how some of that looks. Okay. You would submit changes, which I'm not going to do, or save changes. Yep. And then over here on the right-hand side is I would submit this. This would go into my MCA, it would go in for review. My broker would look at it, and then they would either approve it or reject it because something might be wrong or I might be missing contracts. If it's approved, they'll generate a DA. It's clear to close. All those things happen on the back end, and all are communicated for you through your mobile app and through the platform. So that's contacts, opportunities, details, documents, and commissions. The more you do this, the more comfortable you're going to get. First time you do it, work with somebody. Work with your PC coach, work with your team leader, work with your rainmaker, work with your mentor, right? Ask questions, get it right. And it takes time to get it right. You're going to make mistakes and you're allowed to make mistakes. Just try to take your time and be careful. Okay. Any questions on anything we covered on the opportunities, creating contracts, pulling in documents, which we will cover in more detail tomorrow, submitting proceeds, understanding your commissions and where that has all applied, creating an offer, the importance of putting in multiple offers. If I actually come back to that, I'll make another point of clarification. It makes common sense for most people to track all the offers that you get on a listing. That's straightforward. We get multiple things. We have to track that information, so we might as well put it in the system. I got a lot of pushback from buyer's agents that say, well, why would I bother? I'm just going to put in the one that ultimately got ratified. Here's where I'm going to tell you why it's important, because you need to know your numbers, right? Sometimes you'll be working with consumers that have unreasonable expectations. Does that resonate with anybody? I'm going to offer $25,000 over list price for a property that's coming soon to the market. Is that going to work? I'm going to ask for seller's closing cost contributions. I want avoidable inspection, right? You have to write what they ask. You can't tell them what to do. However, if you track all those offers in the system, say, hey, where's offer 1 we wrote on 123 Main Street? Here's offer 2 we wrote on 2468 Main Street. Here's the offer number 3 we wrote. And none of these got accepted. And then you pull those up in a list. And then you show them, here's where offer 1 got accepted at. Here's where offer 2 ultimately ended up getting. You're educating the buyer. You can only do that if you track those offers in the system. And in the long run, you'll know your numbers better. right? And then you're also tying into what we call artificial intelligence, that over time, what we will be able to do, and I don't know what the time frame is this or what the actual numbers of data are, that you'll start to create data points and conversion rates for yourself, that instead of having to tell the system what your conversion rates are, the system will be able to calculate them on your behalf. What are your closing rates? What's your listing to sale price ratio? Or how often you get sellers closing cost contributions? Those are things that we'll be able to look at in the long term to make your offer stronger. But we only have that data if you provide that data. So it's entirely up to you. Does that make sense on the buyer side to do that? I actually had somebody ask me, hey, I got 26 offers. What did you do? Expect me to put them all in for my listing? What I expect and what I think you should do are two different things. No, based on that question, I do not expect that that's what you're going to do. Do I think you should? 100%. It's up to you, right? You guys got to make a conscious decision to run your business. Take the time to do your business the right way. Somebody said earlier, I think it was Barbara, if you cut corners, then you cut corners. Don't cut corners on your business. You're saving yourself money. You don't know where sometimes, but you are going to cost yourself money if you don't do 100% of the business 100% right for yourself. That's all I can do there for you. All right. Any questions on this before I jump into referrals real quick? It's a lot to process here. All right. I don't see anything in chat, so we're going to jump into referrals now. So on the left-hand side, we have referrals. And if you remember on day one, we talked about it as substantive amount of money that can be made through your network, through your referral platform, right? Especially as a new agent. There's really no easier way sometimes to get out in front of the mass people you know than to be the referral, like to be the person in their world that can help them regardless of where they live. So being the largest real estate company in the world, number one in units, number one agents, number one in transactions, makes us by default, without being an organized referral company that has a different connotation to it, but we are the number one referral company in the world. It's a mindset. We pass more referrals back and forth to ourselves than any other lead generative referral company that takes a very large, big bite out of your ass to pay them to pay you to give a referral. Think about that. Referral companies take 35% off the top. Then you play your splits to your markets. You might end up with 15% at the end of the day. Now, 15% of something's better than 0% or nothing. There's a whole, anybody here done referral work before for a referral company? Harry, how much work is that?
It's a ton. I used to be with, I don't know if you remember back in the day when Navy Fed and everybody used a resource. I was one of those resources. I was also one of the first Redfin referral agents in the country. Okay. And so I can tell you at the end of the day, my team netted 19% gross income. I'm sorry, net income. 19%, and you work your butt off and you're held accountable and keep it internal. It's much better.
And there's no guarantee, right?
No.
You can completely go out there, and I'll tell you, I've never done listing appointments, and let me rephrase that. When I first was new, I started doing this, but it made me proficient at listing appointments and CMAs. Yeah.
That is the one advantage. I was new. They interviewed 500 agents. They picked me. I absolutely worked my butt off. One thing I did get was my language and scripts and dialogues very well organized. It really helped me. But once you look at your numbers, you absolutely change. And thank God for the MREA. That's when I was turned on to Keller Williams, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I started that way, and it made me proficient in CMAs, right? Which is understanding price values for people, because you're doing either BPOs, which is called broker price opinions, or CMAs, which is establishing value. Then you're going to submit, and you had to write a whole ass report on everything, and then you still may not actually get chosen to take the listing. And I actually had people saying, "Listen, this is one of the best I've ever had. However, they chose the other person because they said they were going to get them more." I'm like, this is crap. And they were still buying the listings and I was still losing, right? So there was value there, but I was losing my keystone. But it was a great education. However, that being said, we don't have to do that with KW, right? If I say, hey, you know what? I've got a referral for Midlothian, then I'm going to send it to my girl, Shelly Gregory down there, right? Because I know Shelly. Or if I don't know Shelly, I can come to our system and I can look up information in any territory about production and agents and bios, and then set a conversation with them. So let's look at this way. So these are people that are in my network that I've connected with. Just because they're in my network doesn't mean I have to send them business. We've just connected. We've met at meetings or family reunion or mega camp. It's a quick hitter that I can see people I've got at different places around the country. That's all that really means. I could send them, and chances are, like, if I had a referral in Vegas, I'm probably going to send it to Mundley, right? If I had a referral in Arizona, it's absolutely going to Amy and Garrett Lines. Like, those are things that have happened. Those are my solid relationships with people, because those are territories where I send referrals to a couple times a year, actually, and they convert and close, which is awesome, right? So, right, your husband sold a house in Texas and got the referral. That's absolutely true, right? I got 3 this month. I talked this week. So bought and sold in Philadelphia, bought in Delaware, 3 commission checks, almost 10 grand in my bank account this month from referrals, right? Natalie's like, hey, there's nothing to sneeze at, right? That's real money. That's better than rental checks. Rentals are hard work. Great place to start when you're new. I'm not going to lie to you. They're hard work. All right, so you can connect directly with individual agents. That's step 1. Let's take a look at this map. All right, that's where I think you need to start, okay, to see and understand how this platform works. So you have a map inside of our system that looks at a lot of different data that becomes viable for you. So let's say that I wanted to send a referral to Gilbert, Arizona. Okay, I type Gilbert in on the map, and you'll see here, see where it says production? So production is units closed by KW agents in that area. So what you're about to see here is a shitload of transactions. All those clustered datas are all KW units over the last 12 months in that area. Okay. Now I typed Gilbert, but it pretty much gave me Metro, or what I call the East Valley, which is Gilbert, Chandler, Mesa, parts of Phoenix, Apache Junction. You'll still see Paradise Valley, Glendale. Like, this is Phoenix proper. I lived out here in Gilbert. Now, if I continue to zoom in on that map into a specific neighborhood, Val Vista Lakes is what I'm talking about. Okay. Now I'm just zooming in on my screen. I could have been zooming in over here, but I just use my screen to zoom in a little bit, right? Hit the little plus button, and it starts adjusting the map. And then those clustered bubbles become dots. Give it a second. What do you think those individual dots represent?
Houses
Homes
sold.
for sale.
Available properties.
Sold. Not homes for sale, homes sold, right? Closing transactions, either buyer or seller side. Those are KW transactions that took place in that territory. Now, as I zoomed in closer, what happened on the right-hand side? What do you see?
Agents popped up.
Agents popped up. Why did the agents pop up?
They service that area.
Not only do they service the area, they represent the dots on the screen. Okay, so out of all these dots, 89 agents are on my list that represent these on the screen. And if I hover over any of these agents, she should be on here. Okay, and I hover over this associate. Okay, Barbie King is one. She's a good friend of mine. You see how some of the dots turned red? So those are the actual units that she represented. So if I knew that I needed to do something in Val Vista Lakes, I might reach out to Barbie King. Now, when I look at Barbie, I can click on this drop down. It gives me all her data. So it tells me closed units in this area is 4, 7 total closed units, 5 listings sold, 3 buy sides in the last 12 months, 4.2 million with an average sales price of 600,000. So it looks at in the map area and in the surrounding areas. You're getting both sets of data. If I decided I wanted to send a referral to Barbie and I click that little icon, I could send this directly to her. Barbie, have somebody that needs to sell in this area. Here's the details. Here's my client's information. Here's their property address. Here's what they're looking to do. Are they a buyer or a seller? Here's what I'm asking for. I'm asking for 25% off. I say, hey, you know what? It's my brother. I'm greedy. I want it to come list me, so I want 40%. Remember, referral prices are negotiable. Don't get greedy, but I'm just saying. I'm looking for a deadline or not. Here's the price point, or you can just send it to them. Now, on the flip side of that, that's sending it something to somebody individually. You see at the top where it says broadcast referral? So if I don't really know any of these people, but I've narrowed it down to a handful of people in a territory, I could actually send the referral out to all of them. Have to have less than 50 people. I can shoot it out to those 50 people as a broadcast. I have a referral to go in your territory and see who responds. Because then you're going to know who's paying attention, who's using command, who's not, right? Who's up to date on how to use the systems like I think they should be. And then I have a communication with them. Just because I connect with them doesn't mean I have to send them the business, but it's the next step in the process for me to interview them to think if that's somebody that's good that could represent my client. And I'll tell you this, okay, guys, there are people in here that have sold millions, hundreds of millions of units and transactions that I may or may not send transactions to. And there are brand new agents here that I would send transactions to for different reasons. If I had a brand new agent, but their profile was up to snuff, their contact information was there, their bio was all in place, and they rocked their mold and they did everything that David Donaldson told them to do in their setup class, I might send that listing to them because I know that they're hungry for business and they're doing what I expect them to do. On the flip side, if I go and it's an agent where somebody said, hey, go talk to Joe Smith, Joe's my guy. Okay, great. I'll look up Joe. Joe's a seasoned professional, but Joe's not online. Joe doesn't have a likeness. Joe doesn't have his bio. I do a Google search for Joe and I don't see anything. I don't care how good Joe is, but internally I'm going to have questions about Joe. Or maybe Joe runs a team and I'm afraid that he's going to hand that off to somebody in his team that I haven't met. So you have to decide what is your criteria for sending somebody a referral. And don't be tripped over by units. Look deeper, right? A hungry agent is a successful agent. Let that resonate with you, okay? So that's how this map works. Now, that was based off of production, okay? Oh, one other thing. There's also filters. Sorry. I can filter these agents by category, languages spoken, closed units, listing sold, buy side, average price point in the last 12 months. So you can filter it down with even more detail to the specific criteria that you're looking for on those pages, okay? Now, I showed you production. I can also search by market center. Where are the market centers in this territory? Okay, now on this particular map where I zoomed in at, there isn't anything right there. Now, this is a pretty close area. But if I zoom out a little bit, right? Oh, here's one right there. And I know there's a couple others in there. And I zoom out a little bit more, then we'll start to see that there's a couple of market centers in the area with enough saturated agent count, right? I've got one here in Tempe. I've got one in Gilbert, right? I go out a little further. I know I've got one there. We go, Tempe, Patchogue. So these are 4 market centers in the Southeast Valley. I'm kind of surprised we don't have one in Mesa yet, but it's kind of a little bit more spread out. And then all the agents that represented those market centers pop up on the right-hand side. And then I can filter by either, I can say, hey, show me all the agents out of this market center. Boom, done. Here's everybody in that market center, okay? So again, that's market center search. Your network. Show me everybody in my network that I'm already connected to that surfaces in Phoenix, Arizona. So here I've got Amy Lyons. I talked about Amy. I got Brian Gerbenik. I got Barbie, Brett Tanner, Joe Rother. I can tell you everybody on this list except for one, I've sent a referral to. Mary, I've sent a referral to. Garrett has closed multiple properties. Jill sold my primary residence. Barbie's a good friend. I've sent her multiple properties. Brett and Brian, I haven't. Amy's married to Garrett. Those are all people I've done business with in a specific territory. Boom. So that's my network. Lastly is referral patterns. Now, referral patterns is going to be massive. And I mean massive. So yesterday, you guys talked about Facebook advertising, right? And in Facebook advertising, I don't know how detailed she went, but let's say I take a listing in Crystal City. Now, 4 years ago now, Amazon announced HQ2, right? In Crystal City, which means what? Potential people relocating from Seattle, right, down to Crystal City. That's a thing, right? People move because of business. So what if I did a Facebook ad in Seattle? You can do that, right? Because when you build out these things, it doesn't have to be just around the listing. I can advertise that listing anywhere in the world I want to do. If I knew a percentage of people were moving from a certain city into my territory where I have a listing, I can do a Facebook ad in that area showcasing my listing where they may be coming to. How does that sit with you? Is that something you ever considered or thought of? I don't think so. That's okay. We'll get you there. So what we can do in our referral maps, we look at referral patterns. Okay. So I put map to referral patterns. Now it defaulted to Falls Church, which is my primary market center. So what I'm seeing on the on the right-hand side now are all the incoming referrals, outgoing referrals that have gone from Falls Church to other areas. So 5% of them go to Fredericksburg, 4% go to DC, 3% go to Atlanta, and 2% are going to Austin, Texas. For whatever reason, that's where our internal referrals are going. Now check this out. So those are outbound. Okay, sent. Now I can look at received. Where are the leads coming from that are coming into our market center? Alexandria, Fredericksburg, Portland, Maine. That's interesting. Why are 3% of the listings or referrals in our market center coming from Portland, Maine? I have no idea, but maybe I should find out. Why are they coming from San Antonio? Why are they coming from Asheville? Why are they coming from Towson or Bethesda or DC? Well, they're local, so that makes sense because you've got different territories and different licenses that didn't happen. But if I saw a spike in a particular territory, Alexandria's a big percentage. Fredericksburg's a big percentage. So maybe, all right, great. There's a lot of people coming up from Fredericksburg. So if I had a listing in Falls Church, I run that listing, advertising through a Facebook ad in Fredericksburg. What a better way to get additional referrals, people. Think about that. So if I had a listing in Falls Church and I advertise it in Fredericksburg, maybe I pick up a buyer for that property, right? Maybe that buyer also needs to sell a house in Fredericksburg. So what do I get to do then? Now, I could take the listing, but I will tell you not to do that because I don't know Fredericksburg. So stay in your main territory. But what would I do?
Refer it out.
Refer it to an agent in Fredericksburg. Be proactive on your business. You just picked up a whole nother 25% that you weren't going to capture. Now, maybe they buy your property, maybe they don't, but maybe you got in front of them enough to establish them and recommend them to a KW agent. Guys got to think bigger. Get that mobile app in the hands of everybody you know. Get them leaning on you to become their go-to person for all things real estate. You can have conversations about real estate in general terms without being licensed in a specific territory. Can't buy or sell in that territory. I don't know the market, but they can search for properties. I can introduce people. I can talk about the life cycle of the transaction. There's a lot of things I can do to provide value and find them the best person or best 3 people to interview to decide who they want to work with. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, when you send a referral to somebody, the system will ask them to create an opportunity. Okay. And on your side, in the referral network only, and not on your dashboard yet, it's a big conversation, but in the referral, you will actually see, and if I come back to my referrals, things that you've sent out. Okay. Give me a second to go to my referrals. Okay, here was one that I sent down to Florida. Okay, so I could actually see this. Now it's closed now, but I could see updates. I could communicate with that agent inside the system, right? As they move that transaction through their opportunity stage, I'll receive notification, right? Mark moved this person from cultivate to active, from active to under contract to closed. I can see and track all that inside of referrals only. Now, agents ask me, and I got this question on the other side, should I or could I use leases, because I don't do leases, to track any opportunities that I send out? Sure, you could. Absolutely. If that's how you want to track your business, by all means. And I've done that in the past too. That I typically will put things under leases as 1%ers, because 1% equates to roughly what I would get on a 25-30% referral fee, just for me to kind of keep an update of what's happening on some of the things that have gone out. Natalie, I'm going to come to you in 1 second. The other thing people ask me all the time, And again, I also do this. Let me ask you this. Do I have to send a referral to a KW agent? That's why I answered the question first, Natalie. Do I have to send a referral to a KW agent?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Do we have agents everywhere? No. We have the most agents, but we don't have agents and market centers everywhere. So you can absolutely send an external referral to somebody with another brokerage. And Natalie's hand went down, so I'm guessing that was her question.
It was. And then if you are doing that, obviously you're not going to see have the communication through here.
After you roll, check this out. So if I go to this track referral, this is for an external referral. So no, yes, it will not filter through in a pipeline, but I can still send them the material and the data and communicate through my system and keep updated what's going on. And I have done this too. So I mentioned Arizona. So north of Arizona is a place called Sedona. You may have heard of it. I used to own a house there. I've referred business there. And I had a really great referral partner who was with the Remax. We didn't have a really deep presence from KW. I would have people that would shuffle up there from Scottsdale, but my friend Robert Westerhoff was a premier agent up there. So I was comfortable with Robert. So I sent it to Robert. I said, I mentioned that I just did 2 transactions, and don't tell anybody, I know this is recorded, but I just had my parents sell a house in Philadelphia. One of my good friends up there is an agent with another company. They just haven't joined KW. I'm trying. She sold my parents' house. So I referred her the business because I didn't have, KW is a great presence there, but where my parents lived, they really didn't. So I went with the person I thought was best for my client. So you can absolutely track your information here in your system for external referrals. You do not have to send it to it. Do I recommend it? Sure, most times. But there are times where it doesn't make sense. Okay? That's how you protect your consumers. And that's how you earn their trust. Right? If I refer them somebody that's not with KW, I have that conversation. Like, hey, I want you to know this is the best person in that territory for you. Now, if it was like here in Northern Virginia and I was in Arizona, there's enough people I know in this territory that covering the area is not hard. Western Pennsylvania, I have a lot of family in the middle part of Pennsylvania towards Pittsburgh. We do not have a major KW presence in some of those outlying areas, farms and ranch type of territories, because we look at number of units and transactions as agents in the area. So I've referred people, Altoona, you go, girl, right? I have people in New Germany, in Maple Crest, in Indiana, where we do not have a KW presence. So I find local people to refer business to. So what I challenge you to do when you go and you build your database and you start putting all those addresses in, because you harvested them from your Christmas cards and your wedding invitations and bar mitzvahs and people you went to college with, and you start looking at where all your friends are, what should you do with that information? If I knew that I had 32 people that lived in Altoona, what should I do?
Find an agent in Altoona.
Simple stuff, right? You guys are like, crap, he's asking me hard questions. These are softballs, people. Think outside the box. Make it easy for yourself. If I know I got 32 people in Altoona or that general area, I should know a realtor there, shouldn't I? Right? If I know people in Gilbert, Arizona, I need to know a realtor there. If I know people in Florida, I need to know multiple realtors there because the state is massive. If I know people in Texas, I went to school in Austin, I need to know multiple people there. I have a crap load of people that I went to college with that live in Cranberry, Pennsylvania. I have a realtor there. I've met people in Ottawa, Canada through hockey. I have a realtor there. Look at your database. Think about to day one. We talked about contacts and the importance of getting everybody in your world organized, and let that guide you in how you build your business. 8 minutes left. Ahas, what are you thinking?
When we were working on our contact list, and I was talking to some of my friends, give me your emails, and they were kind of joking around like, what are you going to spam me with? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just, practicing, entering all the stuff. And one of my friends was like, well, I was like, wherever you are, I could help. And he's one of my friends, I had no idea. He's like, at the end of the year, I want to buy a house. It's like, oh my gosh.
So where was that person?
Louisiana.
Did you have an agent in Louisiana?
Nope.
So now you know how to go find one.
Right. Yep.
Just that simple, right? And there's a good agent based in Louisiana. I don't know anybody off the top of my head, but I can tell you can go find somebody. And you start talking to people. Now, Louisiana's a pretty big place, right? You got Louisiana proper, you got the North Ward, you got the North Shore, right above Lake Pontchartrain. There are Arcadia offices. I've referred people. I don't remember who I sent them to. That was north of Lake Pontchartrain. So there are different areas. And I can tell you up on the north side, there are 2 market centers over there. And I think there's 1 or 2 down in Louisiana proper. But now you can go find somebody.
Yep.
But in the meantime, you get your app to that person. So
I already did.
This happens in every class. And thank you for sharing and being honest about that, because I don't think I'm full of hot air here, people. If you take action, things will happen for you.
Yep.
Awesome. Kudos to you. Well done. Feels good, doesn't it?
Yep. Thank you for teaching us.
Tell your friends, come to Dave's classes.
Yeah.
Who else has anything, questions, concerns, ahas, experiences that have seen immediate results by working on your business? No? Okay, some of you are so intense. Like Carolee, I'm not sure if she's paying attention or she's recording a podcast or she's probably listening to Think Like a CEO, listening to Gary and Jay, and she's not really looking at me. So that's all right.
Well, I have 2 screens. So I've got you up on one, I've got my command up on the other.
Awesome. Very, very good. I will tell you that, and I'll start emailing you, and I won't spam you, but I do my best to share information. So what you're going to start seeing from me is every Tuesday I send out a newsletter. If you haven't seen it already, a newsletter comes out from the Regis called Tech Topics from Dave. I send them out on Tuesdays. So look for that. My partner, Joe Martin, who's actually the area director, he sends them out on Saturdays. And then I'm starting to do a podcast, and I'm actually starting to release my podcast and my interviews of agents. I think next week we're going to launch our first one. So you'll be seeing more information from me, and I hope you find value in what I can share for you guys in your business. I look forward to all of your potential growth, because you all have potential. It's just what you do with it that really, really matters, okay? Be engaged, be deliberate, be purposeful, and look out for yourself, okay? If you sit back and wait for the business, it'll never come, and you'll become a statistic. I don't want you to be a statistic. I want you to be motivated and driven. And sometimes that's hard. Anxiety takes over. Concern takes over. You've got bills. Come up with a plan. KW systems and models work for those that take advantage of them. You don't have to recreate the wheel. There are no new things in real estate. Well, that's not true. New things all the time. But I mean, when it comes to systems and models, pick up the phone, talk to people. Track what you say in your database. Every time you talk to somebody, make notes in your database, on your timeline. We talked about this. And then what do I do next? I got to call them again in 4 weeks. What are your action steps to advance that person forward? If you don't put it in your system, you're going to forget, or it's going to be a sticky note in a box in your drawers. You know who you are. Right, Kelly? I can always tell by the reaction of the people on the screen. That's why most people won't turn the cameras on with me, because I can read people. Roberta's been stoic though the whole time. She's giving me nothing. Giving me absolutely nothing.
I'm new, so I'm taking it all in.
All right. So listen, 3 minutes till you get your day back. We're going to send you that spreadsheet like I promised. You'll get the tracking sheet. Everything has been uploaded to the YouTube channel so you guys can watch all the previous material. Tomorrow we have DocuSign, right? So we're going to walk through that. Please make sure your DocuSign accounts are connected prior to tomorrow's class, which means talk to your TL, talk to your MCTT, agent service coordinator, whoever it is in your world, and make sure your DocuSign account is connected to Command. It's going to make your life a lot easier when we walk through some of the things tomorrow. All right, I'm bouncing to my next call. The podcast will be called Entrepreneurial Impact. Entrepreneurial Impact. It will be on Spotify. It will be on Apple. I just created and set that up. Nothing's posted yet, but I think we're going to go live on our first one next week. So I don't know if you could search for that. I actually haven't looked to see if you can actually search for us yet or not. If you do look, Olga, if you look for us and we're there, please let me know. But I don't know if they put us out there. I know there's an account until we actually publish something. It's just still a little bit new to me. But I will see you all tomorrow. I hope you have a great day. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
David.